Hello, welcome to our tutorial for a belted Galloway. We have never made a cowl, and we're going to make a cowl today. We have a supply pack for this tutorial. I kept it, it's a kind of big project, but I kept it simple. So this is, I'd say, a 2 moving to 3 level project. And it's all needle felted. So we need our felting surface and needles and pretty much all the regular tools. I have my pliers. I do use the Zuli tool and the Face Ace, and then regular set of needles, punch tool, scissors. Scissors are helpful. And on the hooves, optional, you could use swax, the Impasto that we have linked on our Goods and Faves page, or the older version of the cold wax medium. And I'll talk more about that once we get into the project. But yeah, it's a great armature. It could be used for any type of cowl. The Belted Galloway is fun because they're kind of fat and fuzzy, and they're not, it's not as complex in details on the legs and the markings and the structure of something like a dairy cow, for example. So this should be a good introduction to cows. Usually when I do a new animal, I deep dive into I learn all about the animal. And I didn't do that this time. I think I just thought it's a cow. But Kyla is going to enlighten us about the Belted Galloway and tell us a little bit more about it. They're also known as Belties and Oreo cows, but they're very sweet, and this is going to be fun to make. So we will get started. I'm going to open up our supply pack and show you what we have inside. It's pretty straightforward since it's just black and white. We will zoom in on the face. It's going to be, because I'm working in black, it's very hard to see. Fortunately, it's pretty simple, the face. It doesn't have a ton of complex shapes. And I can share with you my my drawing, my notes that sort of show what each piece looks like and where it goes.
So we've never done a cow before.
Right.
The stakes have never been greater.
Make some high quality steaks here. Okay. We have 3 different core colors. I work mainly in charcoal. I think it's nice to work, which this will be helpful for filming as well, but it's not black. So it's easier to see, and this is a very nice fiber to work with. This is from Custom Woolen Mills, and it just felts wonderfully. We also have our tried and true off-white chunky core. And then we have black, which we're using really as a top coat. We're using this on the legs and all the face shapes and details. And then we have a few accent colors and things to mix together. This is dark merino. This is coffee merino, which I actually really like to mix so that, again, it's not just pure black, which in your sculpture kind of, not even just for filming purposes, but as a sculpture on your shelf, it helps to see it more if it's not so dark. Serafina white, and then 2 of the, I think these are the Shetland colors. These are new to us. So Loganberry, and chocolate. And these are options for the nose or eyes, just to give them a little bit of contrast. For the coat of the cowl, we're going to use our alpaca line. So I have black, white, and I like having a little bit of fawn because they're often dirty on their bellies, and we can make them a little bit more realistic by having them not be pure white, which would really be like show ready, you know, like when they shine them all up. So that's our fibers. It's not, like I said, it's not too complicated. I'm just going to set these aside. And then we have our wires for our armature. This armature has a little extra step because it's helpful to get the hip bones in there. So pretty basic armature, extra wire to establish the withers and give some support to the legs, and then extra wire to establish the hip bones and support the back legs. We'll go through that. And the wire lengths are, our two main wires are 28 and 30 inches. And then the two extra wires are 18 and 20 inches. Then we have some black cloth wrapped wire. You have 122. This is to make a spine. And then 326 gauge. These wrap down the legs and kind of like sometimes we use pipe cleaner, doing the same thing, just covering the aluminum wire so that it has a little bit of grip and isn't so slippery. And we have our tail there as well. All right. So now we can make our armature. All right. Tell me what you found out.
Well, this is saying they're medium-sized cows. So I guess they're maybe easier for like a beginning farmer to handle. And because of the lighter weight, they consider them light grazers. Okay. So that they don't totally destroy.
Okay. And what are they, dairy cows or
it's beef most cows, of what I'm seeing is meat, and because of how they eat really good organic beef. But between 1,000 pounds for the cows and the bulls are 1,600. Okay. I don't know how that compares to like your standard dairy cow.
Okay, first we're going to start with our 28 inch wire. This is 14 gauge wire. Get out my notes here.
Oh, yeah, they can be up to 2,000 pounds. So
you could get one.
I could get one. Yes, anyone could.
We want to find the center of our wire, and we're going to twist a total of 5 inches, and this is going to be the head and neck. I always twist the wrong way. I'm going to twist this way. No, wait. Is that the wrong way? That's the wrong way. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to figure out how I twist that matches my wrap. This is it. Okay. So from the fold to the end of the twist, we want to be 5 inches. I love this project for someone who's done some felting and wants to go bigger, but it's not as complicated as the felting university courses.
Right. So
this is a great step between, I guess we should really call this a level 3.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And at 2.5 inches, halfway, we can bend our head. And then we're going to find the center of our 30 gauge or 30 inch wire. I need to get my terminology part of my brain attached to what I'm doing here. And just like all of our armatures, I put that point at the chest of the animal, and I like to have it facing away from me. So my two long wires, my new wires, are pointing back at me, and the leg wires are sticking out. And then twist internally 2 times all the way around. So that's 1. This has come back to me, and that's 2. And then we're going to do it on the other side. By twisting to the inside, the leg wire comes out in a really natural position and it doesn't get stressed. And this remaining length should be about 7 inches, I think. Yeah. Now we want to twist the back about 5.5 inches. So that's measuring from the front leg to the end of the twist. So I bring these together, leaving this, hopefully you guys can see, leaving this diamond shape. So that you want to leave this width to the chest. You don't want to squeeze all of this together. And then just twist gently. You don't have to twist tightly. When we twist too tightly, it stresses the wire and it also eats up wire. You're putting more wire into the twist, and so the armature won't look like mine probably. So that's 5.5. Now this is going to look a little short for a couple of reasons. Right now our legs are longer than they're going to be. Also, some of the length of the back comes from we're actually putting butt bones and the tail. So this distance adds another 1.5 inches. I'm going to show this profile. They're hard to see. They're just hard to see. I'm zooming in, and they end up being a great big rectangle. I mean, this is a square, which is what we have in this armature, about 6 inches by 6 inches. And then once we put the chest and the tail and the butt bones and the belly, they turn into a giant black and white rectangle. So this is what we're after. I licensed this image to share with you guys, and we have to remember to put this, we can put this on the listing. But definitely get yourself some reference images to have and take a look at while you're working. Okay. Keep that handy. Now we're going to use our 18-inch wire. Just measure them up. There we go. And find the center. We're going to give ourselves a 1-inch bump on its withers to give the height of the spine at that point. So I straddle the front legs and I just kind of press this down somewhere between 1 inch and 1.5 inches. It'll feel forced if you try to press it down too much. And then I'm going to twist these 2 wires together gently in the direction that I wrap. And I want to twist 6.5 inches. Or it's pretty much, this armature is pretty spot on. So you're going to twist until you have a 1/2 inch of wire left. Let's see what that is. Yep, 6.5 inches. Just use equal pressure on both wires so that your twist is evenly married And then on the hind legs, instead of a bump like this, this is like the only tricky part of the entire project. Now, it might be new. I don't know that we don't do this very often. So you want to find the center, but then we want to make a W. So from there, I'm going to go down an inch and bend this back around, and then the same on the other side, and make a W. I wrote a whole blog post about W.
Really?
It is a wonderful letter. It's the only, everything else is one syllable, and then there's W.
That's 3. It's like a super overachiever.
It is. And this is why no one should ever say World Wide Web. World Wide
www.
Web. Right, that one. www, that one. Okay. The middle of the W is going to go up on the very base of the spine so that the 2 points, well, now it's an M.
It is an M.
I'm looking at it and it's an M. More efficient to say. The points of the M are the butt bones. We need to hold that bottom in place and then bring these wires together. It doesn't have to come right to the base of the wire. We actually want a little bit of this. I'd say this is about 3/4 of an inch from where the wire parts at the back of the twist, and then twist down. And we want to twist this down about 7 inches. It's going to be until you have about a 1/2 inch of wire left. So that's 7 inches from the split.
So Belted Galloway are polled, which I didn't know was I've never heard that term before, which tells you how much you know about cows. Polled.
I don't know what that is.
They have no horns.
Oh, I did notice that they have no horns. I didn't know that was the word.
It's called polled.
But polled implies that something was done to them.
I know. It's either natural or because they have been removed.
Interesting.
But livestock without horns are called polled.
Okay. So we want to create a butt bone, which is about 1 inch back from this split. So you just bend your legs downward from there. Now, the other thing that we want to notice is that their head is very low set. Right now, this is more as a horse would be. So I want to work my armature. I want to work with my armature in the correct position. So I'm really going to try to get this head set down. It's important to keep revisiting your armature and make sure that it looks like the skeleton while you're working and throughout working. All right, so that's where we are right now. I'll turn it this way because most of you are probably right-handed and that probably makes more sense to your brain. Now, we're going to put some bends in the legs, cut these toe tips, put on our black wires, and then we're finished with the armature. I did give this project a point of the shoulder, which is a forward bend. So 1 inch, pushing from the back forward to get that bend. And then we're going to go back to an elbow, 1.5 inches. And then this remaining length should be about 3.5 inches.
Don't feel bad if you have to use a ruler. Not everyone has ruler eyeballs.
Yeah, ruler eyeballs. Good.
Pulled is, you're totally right about it being like indicating that they've been removed.
Okay.
It's bred out. So
okay, it's bred out.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would work also for a Highland cow, this armature. I've made a Highland cow and a Belted Galloway in the past. We do want to put a pastern, like a wrist bend in here. So let's put that at 3 inches. So I'm going to measure down from the elbow 3 inches and put that bend in there. And then the rest of this is foot. And then we want to cut these to 1/2 of an inch. Whoops. Got a little short. It'll be fine. And then on the hind legs, we already have our butt bone, which matches your shoulder bone. In mammals, our shoulder blades and our pelvis have a lot of similarities. And then we're going to come forward 2 inches to make the stifle, back 2 inches to make the hock, and then we have our foot. And then we're going to cut these. Let's see. Let me see where I am here. 2 inches. I'm going to get one more twist out of this, so just so I have that little area of ankle. Okay. And now I'm going to put them on a flat surface and make sure she's square. We're making a she, by the way.
All right.
We are. It's this, you could make a he. You know, I did not do an udder. I guess because they're not dairy cows that have huge udders, because that's what they're all about. Okay, let's get our 26 gauge wires onto our legs. The 26 gauge wire bends more easily. You'll be able to feel which one is the 22. So I'm going to start on my withers. I like to just get sort of one wrap through the withers just to get it going. And then make sure you keep this really centered, because this wire is actually like exactly the right length. That was weird. Sadie just came to visit me. I'm like,
she's showing off her toy.
And then, so when you get to the bottom of this foot, I kid you not, this wire will go right to the end of one toe, which is fine. We don't need to worry about the other toe. And if we lined this up properly, so will this one. I'm not doing a lot of wrapping. It's kind of falling into every other twist. And then we'll do the same on the back legs, and I ignore the hip bumps. So just put it over the back in front of the hip bumps, and then wrap down the leg.
What do you call a cow that's had too much coffee?
I don't know what.
Over caffeinated.
Oh. I had caffeine in my head, but I did not make the connection. And then our last wire, we want...
Ooh, tail.
I know. To come off the back. I feel like my tail's maybe ended up a little bit short. Let's go 5 inches off the back from the hip bone M, and then the rest of it can wrap forward. I usually just go under the chest and then wrap up the head, the neck and head. It's nice if you have enough wire just to fold over the tip of the nose there. There we go. That's our armature. Time to start wrapping with some wool. I need to turn the page on my notes.
That's exciting. You're making progress.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a pun in there.
There's no joke there. A proverb, though. The cow.
Like
these
proverb.
all seem to be like European. I wasn't getting proverbs from all over, which was a little sad. But the cows of others always have bigger udders.
That's like the cow version of the grass is greener.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
The udder is bigger on the other side. We're going to start with charcoal. I think I wrapped the legs in black first, but I think I'm going to do one layer in charcoal and then get on the black, because they do have these kind of like thick, stocky legs. In fact, my sculptures could even be stockier. So that's it's fun. We don't have to worry about high level sculpting
like tapering.
Detail. Yeah, we just sort of get the right shape. But first let's get just a couple of wraps on the body so we have something going on there. I'm going to work with 2, 4, 6, about an 8-inch piece split in half. And one, I'm going to do the neck and head, just up and back. First wrap, usually pretty straightforward, just getting the wool on there. The head ultimately is going to end up being a great big triangle, so you'll see that. But for now, up and back. When your wrapping skills get good, I don't do a lot of needle felting in this phase. And get one on the body, on the torso here, without trying not to pull this chest together. If you wrap away from you and follow with your other hand to lock it down, you can get a nice tension. When you wrap towards you, it's a little harder to get the right tension. And on the body, since I can hold kind of far away since it's such a big piece, I don't have to be really tight and controlled. Just passing along some tips.
The core wool is really good about
it just
kind
sticks.
of sticking to itself.
Yeah, it just sticks. And then let's do another 8 to 9 inch piece split in half. This time we're going to do our chest wrap. So that starts on the body. And I sort of ignore this. If it falls on there and splits, that's fine. But I go across over a shoulder and then under the chest and up the opposite armpit. And then this time I go over the body, under the armpit, and over the shoulder. And that gives me an even wrap that starts to cover the chest. If you have enough, you could stretch it out and do it again. But All right, and then let's just take this one and go down the back again, and then we'll start on the legs. So now this is about cigar shape. Not doing anything with the hip bones and butt yet. Alrighty, so for the legs, we're going to use 6 inches, split in half. Two times. And I just start at the top. I hold it down with my thumb. But this first wrap, if you pull it around and then go over itself instead of moving, it will lock down. And then you can start moving down the leg. Now this I do want to be nice and tight, because with that nice tight base, everything added to it will be able to be distinct. Whereas if this were kind of loose and wobbly, then you have a hard time from there getting distinct shapes onto it. And as I go with these tighter areas, I'm drafting my fiber out and I'm keeping it narrow. Things get away from us when this strip gets really wide, and then it's hard to target and control where it's going. Now on the toes here, I'm going to go ahead and wrap these. I'm not doing as elaborate of a split foot as we do in like the camel. Trying to think what else. Anyway, you want to take your strip and have it thin. If you end up needing to pull a separate piece to do this, that's fine. I'm able to work with this piece. I'm going out to the end of a toe and back, locking it down as tightly as I can, and then out to the end of this toe and back. We're going to use product on here, and so it's kind of a cheat and really helps us. And then I'm actually just going to wrap the whole thing. Let me zoom in on this.
The mousse? Would you do this on the mousse?
Yeah. I'm actually just going to wrap the whole thing, because when we cover it in impasto or swax, whatever we use, we're going to end up, you'll see, we're going to cover it, cut it, and then reapply the product. Don't let it get too big, but this is where I am with it right now. And I will give this a few stabs with this is a 38. Patience and I were talking about arthritis and grip and everything. And if gripping a single needle is bothering you, this little cherry tool is good. And I know I've been using those needles for a while, so I'm going to replace them. But you can put one needle centered in that. So even though it's made to hold more, this just holds one. And because you can put your finger on top of it, it's a little easier on your hand, on your grip. I think that versus the pink pen tool, because the pen tool, you still have to wrap your fingers all the way around.
The old cow, too, has been a calf.
Amen. And sometimes she still thinks she is.
To follow up the talk of arthritis.
Yes. Okay, I want to make sure as I get to the toes here that I draft this out and make it more thin than this big chunk so that I can really put the wool where I need it to be.
Did you do something like that in the ostrich? What are ostrich feet?
I don't remember. The ostrich feet, they have like really long toes. So I'm sure we wrapped each toe.
The Belted Galloway has been around since early 1800s is when they started kind of selecting what they wanted out of the breed.
All right, so not too long.
It says the herd book was established in 1877, which I had to Google herd book because I didn't know what that was. But
just meaning the record?
Like the official. Yeah. And they're very docile. Well, they're docile until a calf is threatened, and then they like team up and
heifers throw down.
They do. They have beef if you try to mess with their calves.
Oh gosh, there was a whole "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" about beef. You got beef? I think I might need to watch that. When I lived on the farm, my dog made the mistake of chasing a cow once. It just got out into the field and started wrangling cows, or so he thought. And then all of them band together and turned around.
Wow.
He hightailed it.
Which dog was that?
That was Luke.
Okay.
It's an Akita that I had.
Don't mess with a bunch of mama cows.
Mm-hmm.
They've only been in North America starting in the 1940s.
Oh, wow.
Which doesn't feel that long ago, although it is 2025, so. Like, that's only 30 or 40 years. If it's 1980.
Yes. Oh, that's so sad. Reality. We need a Life is Short stab wool t-shirt. All right. Let's put some floof in our tail and get it rapid. I'm going to use the alpaca. And I think it's good to kind of do like let's pull a couple of sections just by grabbing the end fringe. And we're going to do, this is a little bit of a plumage technique. So we're going to put the first one in, let's see, we need a little bit more than an inch. Give yourself 1.5 inches. And put one section folded in half right into that where you've creased the wire. And then give this a twist, maybe like 2 times. Your pliers might be handy here to really pinch it down and twist it tight. Then put another section in. And twist. I mean, I could even put a tiny bit more. Their tail isn't like a lion where it's all poof at the end. It kind of like is hairy all the way down, but we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do it just a hair at the end here, but giving it several different anchor points gives us a little bit more length. And then we want to use the black. And I'd say, let's get like a 4-inch piece and split this into quarters just to give you an idea of how much. And then we're going to start at the base. Go ahead and let it wrap over itself.
Don't swallow the cow and worry with the tail. It's a proverb.
It's a proverb?
Mm-hmm. Maybe once you've eaten the whole cow, the tail's not a big deal.
Like, don't make a mountain out of a molehill and then find a mole.
Don't swallow the cow and worry with the tail.
Proverb at the same time. This is harder than it looks. Okay. Maybe this is the hardest part of the project because your wire wiggles around. And now I want to get this sort of over these poofs that we've put. So your hands have a lot to do here. Let me get rid of some extra wool, pull this down, and then try to really just smooth this out over the poofs. And then we're going to stab this down. Or maybe it means like the bulk of the work is done. Don't fret about a detail. I don't know. That proverb
I would think so. If you swallow a whole cow, the tail's no big deal.
Right.
Oh, nice.
This tail.
That's nice.
Oh, you like that? So we want this to live a little higher up. Mm. If you look at the picture, you have this crazy tail, spine, butt bump.
Mm. Wow.
So yeah, we're gonna make sure we get that feature. So in other words, we're not going to do anything that anchors the tail down like this. We're gonna let it live sort of up in the air like that. Let's get a little bit of wool, speaking of this area, onto these hips. Let's do another 9-inch piece split in half. Let's give it a little stretch. And then what's the best way to do this? I don't think it matters how you do this. Just whatever you do, do it evenly. I'm going to go around the hip like this 2 times. And then I'm going to go under here and up over here. Now I can go. This is a little slippery because we didn't put extra wire on it. Around that a few times. Between the legs. Wrap this butt bone. I'm basically crisscrossing a lot. And you don't have to use this whole piece. But I'm attempting to. The only thing you don't want to do here is like wrap these 2 butt bones together. You want everything to stay an independent butterfly. I can stab right into the center of those hip bones. All right, let's see what my notes say here. I know we want a second layer on the top of the legs. I'm going to switch to black. Wrap body like an Oreo kielbasa.
What? That's your note?
That's my notes. Yeah, I know what it means.
An Oreo kielbasa.
Picture a kielbasa that goes black, white, black. But let's do the tops of the legs first. Let's pull a 6-inch piece and quarter it. It's always food.
Right?
It's always food. Okay, all we want to do is go down to the knee on this one. So starting, I was going to use black. In this case, we're going to do a 6-inch piece in halves. Okay, give them a little stretch. This might be a little bit much, but we'll work it out. Okay, starting at the top. You know what we can do, since we have a little bit much, is we can do a crisscross at the joints. And then come down, and then we're going to crisscross here. So that means go around, if you think of this as a bone, crisscross in the center and come around this bone. You never hit the point of the bend. And that starts to sort of lock in and build up joints. And then we're just going to come down to where the knee is, which would be halfway between the elbow and the ankle, and finish out our wool. So, do a crisscross on the point of the shoulder here. Come down here. Sometimes you can exaggerate the angle to make sure that you're drafting this out. Crisscross on the elbow. And then come down to the knee. And any extra fiber, within reason, can get wrapped around the knee to make a little bump. And I think on the hind legs, this might just be a straight shot down because starting on the butt, down the thigh.
What do you call a emo cow? How would you describe it?
How would I describe it?
A cow that's emo.
I don't know.
It's moody.
We're going to come down to the hock, and I have a little bit of extra fiber, so I'm going to do the hock crisscross. If you're working on a level 3 project, you know what the crisscross is. Yeah. Moody's a good one.
There's some good cow puns. I plan to milk them for all they're worth.
Doing a little hock joint here. Alrighty, let's do that. Let's do that Oreo kielbasa. So with some off-white chunky, I'm so crazy right now. With some off-white chunky, okay, this off-white chunky core that I'm using today was run like a regular core.
Oh, really?
So it's not chunky after all.
What?
The mill is rectifying the problem and making it chunky once again. So depending on when you purchase this supply pack, pay attention to if this feels thin or chunky. This is thin. I'm going to use it whole.
Mm-hmm.
If your off-white chunky core is thicker, as it should be, you're going to want to split it in half or thirds. But I'm going to use a nice 12-inch piece and just go around the middle here. I want to make the switch to white because it's time. Putting quite a bit of tension on that so that it's tight. Now their belts, some of them are skinny, some of them go elbow to stifle. Just don't overthink it. Your colors are going to end up where they are. It's kind of nice not to over control it. Okay, and now I'm going to switch to charcoal. I still have this piece. Just get a nice tight wrap. I'm just sticking to the body here. I'm not going back on the legs or anything. Just want this whole thing to end up evenly wrapped like an Oreo. Am I allowed to say Oreo? Like a vanilla cream filled chocolate wafer.
What's that other brand of cookie?
Hydrox?
Hydrox.
What kind of name is that?
It's terrible.
Okay, I'm using about 9 to 10 inches of charcoal, splitting it in half. And now I'm going to do this. I might do the chest wrap again, actually. So I'm going to go around the body and then over the shoulder, under the chest, up the armpit, over the back, under the armpit.
I didn't even know a Hydrox existed.
You've never heard Hydrox?
No.
Supposedly superior to the Oreo.
Really?
Oh, I have to get some of those.
They don't exist anymore.
What?
Yeah, I think they stopped making them in like 2010 or something.
What?
We're going to do this again. This is not quite kielbasa, wouldn't you say? I'd say that's more of a healthy hot dog.
Yeah. Yes. A
Um,
bratwurst, perhaps.
I remember when I discovered that Nabisco stood for National Biscuit Company. And I was like, ooh, that's amazing.
Nabisco.
Because when you're a kid, you just hear Nabisco.
Mhm.
You don't know.
Wait, they brought them back.
Oh, they're back because they're that good. Who brought them back? Kellogg's makes Hydrox?
Leaf. Hey Now, made with cane sugar. They took out the high fructose corn syrup and the hydrogenated oils. What?
See how she's getting longer?
Mm-hmm.
Magically?
This is my project. I always make them long. Unintentionally. All right. So will Belted Galloways ever be the Hydrox cow? Not the Oreo.
I have a couple more pieces of 9 to 10 inch halves, and I'm going to put those on the head and neck. Lots of wrapping. This one I'm going to stick to the neck, and I'm just going to go up and back. And start to think about the neck being a little thicker. Oh my gosh, my stuff always gets warped. It's all the twisting tension, all the wrapping tension. They get out of balance. Okay, and then this one I'm going to keep on the head. Going down and back. And I really want to think about this being a cone shape. So I'm going to stick towards the back, move slowly down, then angle back, not staying on the nose too long so it stays nice and pointy, and then put the bulk of the wool at the back of the head again. And that gives me a really nice cone shape. This is about where we want to be when we start putting our face shapes on. So all right, now we're going to wrap a spine, and we have a little bit more wrapping to do, and then we'll be ready for shapes. So with your 22 gauge wire, we want to cut a piece approximately 6 inches long. It's going to go from the withers to 1 inch onto the tail. So this is 6.5. I'll start there. And first we just want to wrap it in, let's wrap it in off-white chunky core. It'll be easier to see. When I'm wrapping a wire just floating in the air, I usually end up rolling instead of wrapping. So I just turn the wire towards me, and if you draft out your fiber so that it's nice and smooth, it will lay on there nice and evenly and tightly. Because it's hard to wrap wire because it'll want to bend and move. I want this to be tight because it's going to be the spine, and it needs to be really well defined. Stretch this out so that I make it all the way back. Okay, now we want to stab this really well. Probably going to roll it in my hands to make sure it's tight. I tried putting it on the face ace. I guess you could put it against a spindle or a skewer, but when I pulled it off the face ace, it was too loose because, I got to replace these needles there. I want it really tight. So with a little bit of felting and twisting and hopefully wrapping tightly, you've got that locked down pretty good. And then we want to put a second layer on. So in the center, I'm going to do about a 6-inch piece of white. I'll try doing it in halves, see if I get it tighter. This is actually letting me tighten it down even more. And then on the ends, we want to do charcoal. It might not matter. Like you might be able to, this is all like getting stabbed in. There shouldn't be any stab, like bleed through. So it might not matter if you just do it all in one color. This is just the way I've been doing it. I'm pulling against it and locking it all down tightly. Quite a bit of tension when I wrap, especially when I want it to be firm. Do this last little piece on here. So this is the width of, it's about a 1/2 inch.
Thicker than a ballpoint pen?
Maybe a little thicker than a ballpoint pen. Okay, then this goes on to, if you have a skinnier end, put it towards the tail. I'm actually going to sort of taper one end out by rolling it. And then I'll put that towards the tail. I'm going to take a little bit of wool off of this. Because we want this just to flow into the tail, and that's a little bit thick. And then this, you can kind of even shove it in to the withers. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is wrap this in off-white chunky core. Let's get a nice 16-inch piece here. Get this all locked down. Make sure the spine stays on top.
So if the core was extra chunky, you would have split it in half.
Split that in half. Yeah, it's just going to be easier to keep the distinction. And then do the same thing with the charcoal. And then from here on out, we build down because their legs sort of get gobbled up by their belly and their chest and stuff. So take a nice 12-inch piece, split that in half, and wrap each of these ends here. So in like a Holsteiner, their butt bones really stick up. In the Belted Galloway, they're so chunky. Their hip bones. I'm sorry, their hip bones, not their butt bones. Their hip bones sort of get encapsulated in the bulk of them. From here on out, we build their bodies out with some shapes that come down. Everything's going to come down. I'm going to stab down along the edge of the spine to really define it, because that's the way they look, especially in this little hip dip here. Throughout the video, you're going to stab more than I do, and that's in part because I'm moving along for filming purposes and just protecting my elbow a little bit. Okay, so we can see this bump on their tail here, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap the spine into the tail. And you want to make sure you have this tapered out a little bit. So if you ended up with a lot of wool here, pull some of it off. And I happen to have a black strip. I just want to get all of this combined. I like the way this tail is looking so far. I don't really need to go over all of this again, so I just pulled some fiber off and just wrap that fringe around and let it disappear. Okay. On one of and the first cow I made, I put a spine here also, but I think doesn't need it. This all gets kind of filled in, and it got a little too heavy, and then he couldn't move as much. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just letting you know it was in the works, and it was an option. Using charcoal, we're going to make a chest. Okay. So we're going to use 12 inches of charcoal. And we're just going to hand roll it. I'm trying to push it into like a 1-inch shape as I roll. The hand roll gives us a slightly softer shape than pulling tight around the Zoli tool. And then we want to put this here as the chest. So I'm starting right between the front legs and then letting it go up on the neck. And I'm encouraging it into a 90-degree bend, kind of. Just getting that tack down. So that starts to fill in this space. You can see the 90-degree corner there. And then we want to make, using the off-white chunky core, 3 pillows like that. So because this is not as chunky, I'm going to use 16-inch pieces. If you have the chunky stuff, I would pull 12 and split them in half. I'm just going to spread these out a little bit since it's not so thick and roll these up. So we're doing 3 of these, similar to the chest that we just made. So just to give you an idea, these are ending up about 2 inches long. Well, they're a little bit longer if you count the poof, and about 2 inches wide. So are Belted Galloways from Scotland?
Yes. Apparently southwestern Scotland.
Okay.
It is a very rugged hill country. And their coat reflects like a lot of the weather.
The weather. So this is going to go meet the chest and go over the belly directly on the bottom here. And these are going to go on the sides to give us a nice big side belly. See how I can still see the spine if you look at it directly from the side? This is going to get wrapped, so I'm just getting these tacked on here. You want to kind of let the edges of your pillows taper and blend. I'm not accentuating them, I'm letting them blend in. Okay, and let's take a nice 24-inch piece. And go all the way around this. We're going to concentrate the off-white chunky core in the middle. Giving it a slight angle in so that it's holding everything in. If I went just straight around, it might kind of slip off. Okay, and then let's do the charcoal around this spot right here. This is a little weak right here. So I'm going to take 16-inch piece, split it in half. And wrap. letting it go onto the off-white a little bit so that everything becomes unified. Define the spine again.
At this point, the spine could still theoretically slip one side or the other if you're not like really making sure.
I don't think so because it's been wrapped a few times, but yeah, I guess check it. We want the belly to come at least to the elbows. So when I make a straight line from the elbows to the knee, that belly is coming right down to that. So fatten your cow up.
Too lean. It's too lean.
Okay, we need to make 4 triangles with 3-inch pieces of charcoal. So this is the remaining whole charcoal that I have. So I want to pull 4 3-inch pieces, which is about the rest of it. I mean, I still have some pieces over here. And then triangles, we want to be about 90 degrees. So I'm going to stab the center, stab my angles, and then fold these over. So I left a 1/2 inch here. So when I fold that over, it goes kind of onto this side. And then when I fold this over, now that 1/2 inch comes down onto my triangle, which gives me a nice full point to my triangle, and all the rest of this being fringe. I'm not going to over stab it because I want to stab it into place. So that is about 90 degrees. So let's do that again. So you can see, take your 3-inch piece, get it horizontal and evened up, stab the center, stab a 90 degree. If you need help, you can put something square there to make your lines, leaving 1/2 inch at the top, fold one side over, stab it down, and then along your original lines, fold the other side over. This should have some bulkiness and some fullness. They're going to be muscles. They represent muscles. So we don't want them to be pancake flat. We want them to have some volume. I'm even going to kind of restack this one a little bit. So I wonder when the Highland cow, I think it's probably older breed.
The Highland cow?
Mm-hmm, than the Belted Galloway. And what was bred to make the Belted Galloway?
Well, it's interesting because it says, it's a thing that said that, for lack of a better word, they've stayed pretty pure. Like they haven't been crossbred with a lot.
Right, but something was crossbred
to make it.
Yeah.
This ancient breed of cattle were said to be dark, wavy-haired with undercoats like a beaver's fur, and for centuries they went unnamed, referred to only as the black cattle of Galloway.
Okay.
So it seems like they've been around longer, but then just got attention more recently.
So these are going to do a lot for us. 2 are going to go on the shoulder to the elbow with a straight line in line with the leg. So fringe pointing up and one edge being in a straight line with the leg. And the other edge coming out to the chest. So starting to fill in some of this space on the shoulder here.
So Highland cows have been around since the 6th century.
Oh, Highland cows. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is saying references to sheeted cattle are as early as the 11th century.
Sheeted.
I feel like that has to do with their fur, their coats. Mm-hmm. But the 16th century. Wait, what two breeds make a Belted Galloway?
I thought you said
is unclear. They think it's crossbreeding with a Dutch Lakenvelder.
Okay.
I should have known that, really.
So this one is going to go on the thigh coming up. So we're going to put the point coming towards the knee and then pretty much level your triangle so that this follows the bone up and this comes up to the body. To get this to stay on, the easiest thing to do is to flip this over. So now you can see, hopefully you can see where that is. And then we're going to take some black, little 1/2 of a 2-inch piece of black core, put it right over that. Filter on. Okay, and we're going to put this one on here. Just stabbing carefully around the butt wires.
Each farmer's wife praises her own cow. That's interesting. That's the truth.
Yeah, this black piece under here is what's really helping hold this shape on until we get more going on here. I think I want to put a little rolled piece just to rest on the hip bone to the butt bone. I'll use black because I want to save my charcoal. So I'm going to take a 3-inch piece of black, split it in half, just roll this in my hands nice and tight, and that'll go right there on top of the butt to hip. Trying to fold that into like a 1/2-inch roll. So it ends up about a 1/2 inch by 2 inches. You can even let the tip of it just went right over that hip bone. Again, you're going to stab a little bit more than I'm stabbing. I'm going to do that on this side, just pull the tip around the hip bone.
Oh, you can hear all the wires in there.
Okay, now we need to make 2 2 nice tacos. Okay, 4-inch whole piece of black. So 2 4-inch pieces. We're going to make 2 tacos, and these are going to be the connector here. So if you probably have little black tufts, you're just going to put them across the center, whatever you have in your scrap pile. Fold this down and stab about 1 inch worth of area near the fold. If you're stabbing directly into your felting surface, don't forget to pick it up periodically. I would like to go to Scotland. Well, there's a lot of places I would like to go.
I feel like it would be cold and rainy. I don't know why. I only ever think of...
I think it's got a little bit of a Washington, Oregon thing going on.
Like it's often overcast and
the latitude.
I envision a lot of green. Very lush. But rainy.
My desire to go there has nothing to do with kilts.
Right.
Just the fiber animals. You don't hear much about Scottish food.
Haggis.
That's that's about it. That's all we hear about. So these you want to be pretty well felted in this 1-inch area because that's going to be done. Exist in finished space. And this is going to go to the belly and to the thigh right at about the knee joint here. So this starts to, we're getting that rectangle that we see in the picture. So now I'm really stabbing the fringe to get all of that stuck.
Haggis, neeps, and tatties, and Cullen skink. Cullen skink is a creamy soup made with smoked haddock, potatoes, and onions.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Neeps and tatties are mashed.
We would like that.
Mashed turnips and potatoes.
Oh, I do like a turnip. I'm in. Let's go. I got the lingo now. Some neeps and tatties. I want my cow to be fatter, so I'm going to put, I didn't do this on my other ones, but I'm going to put a fold. I took 2 4-inch pieces. I'm stabbing it across the top. And I'm making a giant shingle. I'm letting the fringe go down. This is also going to nicely anchor the piece that we just put on. And then I'm folding this over.
Doesn't get much hotter than like 63 degrees in the summer.
What?
But the winters don't get super cold.
Okay.
It's around 32 average in the winter, but not... What? 20 hours of daylight in the middle of the summer.
Wow. This cow is getting solid and for real.
Generally cool and wet.
Okay. And we got that little bit of belly fringe going on. I like it. We need to wrap the tops of these legs so that they don't look like toothpicks sticking out of a brick. So, using the black, let's take a 4-inch piece, split it in half, draft it out. So now it has become 6 inches. Or we could have done 6-inch quarters, but we're going to do that twice. This is just a different way to get there. Drafting is just a gentle tug. You want to pull the fibers evenly and not, rip it apart. And we're going to go start on this shoulder piece that we added. Taking a nice broad ribbon this time because this is going to be a blender. Come down to the knee. I'm not wrapping the knee. I'm going to it and then I'm going back up. And then let that ribbon come up onto the shoulder. So now everything has become one.
Right. In the farther northern areas of Scotland, in the summer, there's a chunk of time where there's not complete darkness at all.
Okay.
Like, it never gets dark. There's like twilight, but...
Don't you think that would like mess with you? I feel like that would mess with me.
Well, there's also an old Scottish saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes.
Yes. It's very true. Because when I was involved with the animals, I was always amazed how, if I was dressed right,
Bad weather didn't matter.
Anything. Yeah.
I can see why wool would be very popular.
The wool,
there.
The wellies, and the waxed cotton.
Yeah.
The waxed cotton.
Like, wool makes sense if it's often cooler and... Well, wet wool.
Wet wool's supposed to be warm.
Yeah.
There's our
W's.
no,
it keeps you warmer. Warm, wet wool.
I mean, I realize anything can be alliterated, but W's seem to have extra oomph. Like Wonder Woman, Wild West, World Wide Web, all of them. They're big concepts. Back leg, same thing. Start your ribbon on your thigh that we added. Coming down to the hock. Nice and smooth. So I have this nice tapered thigh muscle. We haven't even started adding fluff yet. And we're having fun, right?
What do you call a rude cow? It's sort of dumb.
Oh, really? I don't know what.
Beef jerky.
Oh, that's a funny. That's actually a double pun. That's a good one.
Are you actually going to call a rude cow beef jerky? Like you're a beef jerky?
You're a beef jerky. I love it. Because they're beef and they have a beef and they're being a jerky and they can be made into jerky. And it's just funny to call someone a jerky instead of a jerk. Don't be such a jerky. All right, we have achieved unity. Okay, we need this weird, big... What's this called?
It's
Dangle neck.
a dangle neck.
And I made that by...
Do we think that has a name beyond like...
On a moose, it's called a dewlap.
Okay. 4 inches. I'm going to put... Let's see. Let's do it a taco, but let's kind of angle it like a triangle and see what happens. So I'm stabbing the filling like an arrowhead. Oh, this is a mashup. The reason we need it to be a taco is because I need the fringe to go to either side of the neck. But instead of going straight across, I kind of forced it into a angled shape. Okay, now we're going to open the fringe up and put it onto the chest. What?
Well, I did a Google search. What's the big chest of a cow called? And it's coming up with brisket.
Oh, I didn't know that's where the brisket came from. I feel like this needs to be come up the neck a little bit more. I started putting it too far back. Pulling it up onto the neck a little bit more. All right, there's no working around working in black on this, so you guys just have to trust the process. You can't see what's what here. Look how long it got. Shoo!
Right, so do all cows have 4 stomachs?
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's saying they have 4.
yes. But do some have more?
They only have 1 technically, but there's 4 different compartments.
Okay. Don't some animals, like puppies, they're not all in one womb or uterus, they're in like multiple ones? I mean, that's a different video. But now you got me thinking. Okay, so at this point, let's do it. We'll do a little more wrapping on the legs, but you want the body to be, this is where we're going to start putting hair on. So you want it to be looking like the shape of the image. Pointy butt, pointy hips, noticeable spine, big belly, weird tail bump. Oh yeah, the tail has suddenly gotten very short. I just always make the tail too short. You really want this 90-degree angle at the butt back here. That's an important cow feature. I dig it. All right, legs. With the black, we're going to pull 3 to 4 inch strip and quarter it. And this might be a few wraps, but you kind of want to give them like bell bottoms. Like they're wearing a bootleg fit. So I'm going to keep it skinny under the hock. And then when I get down here to the elbow, the ankle joint, I'm going to do a crisscross wrap to build that up. And then I have some extra. I'm going to take it up, just making sure that it's nice and evenly dispersed there. Now, I didn't play around with the reverse needle, but once these legs are well felted, it could be fun to reverse needle.
Try to floof them out a little bit.
And we could add more to the hock here. They have a really pronounced hock. I did not get into a toothpick tendon or anything like that because I wanted this to be on the simple side as far as projects go. So you can see the difference between the two legs here. I'm going to accentuate that hock and ankle. Do that again. Keep it lean at the top. Put the bulk of my wool at the ankle using the crisscross to build up that look of that joint.
So there's a joke that I remember my kids thinking was hilarious.
Okay.
That I had forgotten about until I looked these up. I'm curious if you remember.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Is this the interrupting cow? This is my
it's your favorite
one.
It's so annoying.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
The interrupting cow.
You like it?
Oh, it's my favorite one.
Okay, well, here's another one that is possibly...
Knock. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
The interrupting starfish.
The interrupting... Well, if you have a bunch of them, that's funny.
For those of you who couldn't see that. Okay, we're doing the same thing on the front legs. Go ahead. You have another one?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
A cow says.
A cow says what?
You don't say what?
I forgot how it goes. A cow?
I thought you were
I thought she was like making it not the joke.
A cow.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Not what's there.
A cow says, well, you don't say a cow says who.
Well, that's what you do. You have to say whatever it is after I say. If
I
say a cow says, you have to say.
A cow says who?
No, a cow says moo. Wait, there's a follow-up. Knock, knock.
I'm going to mess it up. Who's there?
Moo.
Moo who?
Make up your mind. Are you a cow or an owl? Did I butcher that punchline? Wait, no. Did I butcher the punchline? My cow says what? Cow says what? Even the dumbest jokes are funny when you're with friends.
Yeah. Oh, in case you were wondering, I'm doing the same thing to the front legs as I did to the back legs. But we need to get the knees and the hocks more pronounced. So let's take a 3-inch piece of black and quarter it. This is all just wrapping on the legs. I'm not doing anything other than that. And then on the knees, I want to make the top of the leg wider. And then I'm going to crisscross at the knee, just really keeping the wool right in one spot. We kind of have this feature where their little skinny bottom leg comes out of a fatter upper leg. On the other side, give them a little more leg meat. And then build up the knee a little bit. Yeah, I think the reverse needle could be a cool addition to this.
You just floof it out and not
Process.
put it back in.
Yeah,
Leave
let's
it
try
fluffy.
it.
It is a weird feeling, that reverse needle.
Mm-hmm. And then these will do on the hocks. Really trying to make a point here. Like, we don't want it to look rounded over. They have a pointy hock. So to get that, we need to, it's counterintuitive. You need to skip this point and wrap here and then here. And what that does is when you pull that tightly, it kind of forces the wool into a wedge there. See, can you see how that's building up into a nice sharp angle? Okay, and then I'm going to take the rest of this up the thigh. Oh, that looks good. Here, I'll put it on here so you can really see at least the shape of it. So nice and pointy right there. So satisfying the way that works. Ah, here we go. Okay. This is my point. I'm pulling the fiber out so you guys can see it. I'm going to go around here. I'm going to go around here. See, I have not wrapped that point. Around here and around here. And then I'm going to take the rest of this up the leg. Excellent. Excellent. Grade A. All right. I'm gonna avoid the face for a little bit, and I'm gonna talk about floof, and then I think yeah, then I'll be fresh for the face, fresh faced for the cow face. Okay, let's talk about floof. This is still a little too much of a dip right here. Now my floof could fill that in, but I'm going to take two 2-inch pieces of black and just shove them in there on each side, kind of like we did this off-white, under the armpit here, and let them meet in the middle. It's also going to hold that weird neck piece that we don't know what it's called that we put on. Everything blends and overlaps and becomes a sculpture. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see the proportions there. I dig it. I think it's looking really good. Who figured this out? Okay. floof. All right, so obviously we have white floof and we have black floof. Let's make some white floof. This is the alpaca. So take 3 pulls and then 3 pulls of Serafina white and then 3 pulls of alpaca. You can use all your floof because it's might as well. And then Serafina white, and then I'm just going to divvy this up on here. Okay, then we take these piles and we restack. So now we have some wool mixed in with some alpaca. And it's not the norm for us to scramble wool, but you want to scramble this a little bit. Floof it out, scramble it. I did try activating it with a spray bottle. Would you mind? It's over on that,
I see,
shelf over there. This can be willy-nilly. In fact, you want it to be. You do not want it to be even Steven. Oh, willy-nilly. Oh, no, that's only one W.
Willy.
So sometimes, especially with the fur, a little moisture, just like our hair, like it is today, because it's raining. This is a Belted Galloway day,
it is.
By the way. Gets that curl activated. Probably should put some product on here. But then you need to let it dry. I don't feel like it worked as much with the alpaca as it does with the fur, but still fun to see what happens. And then I want to make one set with the fawn for the belly. See how dirty her belly is? Yeah. So let's get our fawn. Do 2 pulls, a little bit of Serafina white, a little bit of fawn. I guess you could even put some, let's put a little bit of this in there. I didn't do that last time. Save some. You don't need this much, but just playing around with it. Mix this all up.
So this information says there is a multi-breed research project done by the Canadian government, and it says the Galloway ranks second only to buffalo in hair density.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's used at all. If it's
like, what do they do with
processed or anything?
I saw some information about the pelts being very desirable because of the fiber, well, between the color and the texture.
Right?
But they keep off, like a 2-layer coat keeps off the rain and wind, but then insulates also.
All right, this is just fun, and you should have fun with it. Because I put the brown in here with the white. This is a little bit of extra blending to make sure that it's all, that it's not stripy. But we'll pull from that what we want, and now we need to do the black. So same thing. I'm going to actually use the coffee. I think I like it better. You can try coffee and you can try the dark and see which you like better. So let's do one with the coffee.
You can indeed harvest their undercoat, and it's referred to as Belted Galloway wool.
Ooh, okay, we should see if we can find that. And then I might do a second round with the dark. So maybe use the coffee, like they might be a little lighter on the top of their back and on their face, like where the sun hits. All right, so that's coffee and alpaca. This is coffee and alpaca. Now this one, I'm going to put a little bit of this brown into. If you have another brown top coat, you could try it in here. I'm just mixing something a little bit lighter, maybe for the floof on top of her head. I think it's nice to have something that's not solid black. All right, I'll mix that up later. And then we're going to try the dark. So with my remaining black alpaca, I'm mixing in dark merino. I don't have too much of that left. All right, lots of piles here. If you guys can see the difference. You can see it a little bit between the one with the coffee and the one with the black. Coffee is like a little bit of a dustier look, I guess. So let's start stabbing. There's not a ton to this except to tease it out. This is still a little bit wet. It would be good if it were dry. And stab it in. Definitely willy-nilly. Let there be bumps and poofs. It's really pretty. It's really satisfying. It's very soft. And it looks fabulous. You can make decisions about your belt, your white, how far it goes, where it lands. Look at pictures. There are all kinds of ways. I'm going to put my dirty floof at the bottom. I'm going to kind of let it hang off the way they do. Meaning instead of taking all this and sort of wrapping it around, I'm letting it hang down at the belly. And so that this doesn't look like a solid line, I'm going to take a little bit of white, just tease it out, blend these. And then with the black, same thing. Make sure it's good and random. On the legs here, you can tease some out and just come down the leg a little bit.
It's very cool to get that look without like super laboring
Yes. Oh, making fur.
like yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, that would take forever.
Forever.
It would take forever, and it wouldn't be as, I don't know, lively, playful. I don't know what the right word is.
Well, at some point, can stuff just be overworked? Is
Yeah,
that the right term?
I think
like,
so.
or do you really gain the benefit from the hours
Of now in here, I think it would be good to put a little fluff in here because that's what they do. And I'm gonna switch to black. She actually would have an udder.
It'd sort of be hidden in the floof,
It would
though.
sort of be hidden in the floof. So I like it kind of sticking off like that. Now I think I'm going to put my lighter mix up here. This is the alpaca with the coffee. I didn't dampen this one, so we'll see. I think it'll work the same. And I'm going to carefully stab around this hip bone because there's a lot of wires we've got to look out for here. And at some point, a single needle might help really just sculpt and tack all this stuff down. And then along the spine right here.
So they actually shed their coat in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're better suited for like warmer climates just because of that.
Yeah. They look different. It's like a horse. A horse has a shaggy coat and then sheds it in the summer. Okay.
So I guess some other cattle that are more adapted to cold then don't tolerate heat well. Like
I gotcha. If they're not shedding.
Mm-hmm.
So the same process on both sides. We're just covering our cow with her floof. And then we'll do the neck once the face is done. But I think I just wasn't ready for diving into the face. And I was ready to start seeing how this looks on here. So cool. Alrighty. It is a new day. And we need to felt a face. But I'm going to tell you a secret. I already felted the entire face and did not record. So we're doing it again. And it is a little creepy how the torn off face is just kind of like hanging out here. I was like, oh, good news is you can see all the pieces, but that didn't really come off so well. So this was first try. Maybe I'll get it even better this time.
There's no maybe about it.
And there's super nice comment on Facebook today, which is the wind beneath my wings
At the moment.
as I redo the face. Yes. Another thing that I did do and didn't record was a little bit more to the feet. So I took a thin strip of black and put another layer on there. And then I put I used the impasto medium. I would prefer the power wax. So depending on when you're watching this, maybe there is power wax. Maybe you have power wax, but this works just fine. The other thing that I did was I put some of the charcoal core over the neck and fuzz that out. But I mean, I'm not going to rip it off, but it's really, I just folded a piece over the neck to combine. Imagine this wasn't here. We had this and we had the head. And so this is just bringing it together. But we're going to make the face now. And then I also took another 8-inch strip of charcoal and wrapped the head one more time. We want a real nice, distinct cone shape. And so I put a little bit more wool on there. So it's a 1/2 inch at the tip of the nose and about 1.5 inches at the back of the head. Or, I mean, 1 inch if you squeeze it. It just depends on how you measure. And Carla got me some more black core here, which is mainly what we're going to use. And I'm just going to try to zoom in. We have the lights turned up, and I'll do my best to make sure you can see everything. But this is going to be hard to see. Relatively simple, don't you think, the shapes? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is make a chin. And I'm going to take about a 9-inch, 8 to 9-inch piece, the length of my stab-it, and split that in half. And I'm going to do that on the Zuli tool. So I want to wrap the tool from the 2-inch point out to the tip, hitting these, using the angled end to create that. Well, it's going to end up this shape. So I can go around, angle over, and then just turn right around on the other side of that point and come around here. I'm going to go around again, and then I'm going to stretch this out and do the tip again. So that 9-inch piece should cover enough ground to do everything twice. And then when you slide that off, this is your chin, and you can just round it out a little bit. I'm going to give it a little tug, and I want this just to be nice and flat. It's kind of like their lower jaw. And then we're going to felt this right on the bottom, even with the end of the nose, as it is now. It's good. And then a little bit of that black. Let's split that other 9-inch piece in half. And just a real nice thin wrap on the back half of this. I'm pulling tight to anchor everything. I don't want to add a ton of bulk, but this will just hold everything down. And smooth it out. Kyla and I were saying we don't remember what we talked about and didn't talk about. So we apologize if there's a repetitive conversation. Okay. Now we're going to we have this other quarter. Let's take about 6 inches of that. We're going to make a log that's going to go right on the top of the head. They have this they have a lot of triangles going on in their structure. So this log is going to sit right on top and make that point on top of their head. So I'm going to do this on the center of the face ace, go straight around. It's going to end up about 1 inch wide. That's probably enough. And that's going to sit right on top of the head at the back of the head. And I'm going to taper the sides, edges down. And it doesn't need to be pointy, but you can start to kind of think that way.
One thing I know I mentioned was this Norwegian proverb, it helps little that the cow yields milk when she kicks the milk pail over. Because that's when we talked about in filming land when we yielded milk, but then kicked the pail over. Talking about the bear tutorial when we filmed and I didn't turn sound on.
Yeah, and then we can you guys see where this is? Yeah, then we redid it because I didn't push the overhead record on.
Little did I know we'd have more. It's really just like lore. It's Serafina lore that we're creating right now.
Okay, the next shape we need is 2 eye bumps. So let's take about a 3-inch piece and let's quarter that. Well, I'm going to just quarter half of it. And we're going to go around the face ace about 2 dots in here. So this isn't quite as big as the head bump, but kind of the same idea. Sort of a 3/4 inch bean is what we're getting here. We need 2 of those.
They have pretty prominent eye bumps.
They do have prominent eye bumps, and that's what these are. So we want them to taper in towards the center onto the bridge of the nose and out onto the side of this bump that we put. And what the eye is going to go underneath it. So we're sort of creating the eyebrow here. So it's angled from outside in on each side. Yeah, kick the milk over. I was the cow, the milker, and the can kicker all by myself. So in the center here, we can stab a little bit of core wool down into the center where these 3 shapes converge, just to fill it in a little bit. But make sure you're not knocking the shapes out of their place either. Okay. Next, we're going to make 2 right angles, and we're going to do that with 2-inch pieces of core. So you want to pull 2 squares. Make sure they're nice and uniform. Square 2 inches. And these 2 right angles are going to be the jaw bone. So the felted rounded right angle is the corner of the jaw, and the fringe comes up onto these other pieces that we have. So to do that, I'm going to felt a line about 3/4 of an inch in from the left side, and then 3/4 of an inch over from the top. So I'm going to fold that in on that, and then fold this down. So now I know I'm getting a nice right angle there. And I can hit it with the, there's white fibers everywhere. If you see me fussing, that's why. Hit that with the punch tool. Don't want it to be super flat. I want it to have a good bit of bulk and structure. And then on this one, we're going to go the other way. So I'm going to felt kind of 1/3 of the way in on this side. Draw my right angle corner. And then fold this down. And that puts the most of the wool in the corner with the fringe pointing out in every other direction. So cool the way this works. And then they can go on either side because they're symmetrical. So I guess I didn't need to make them 2 different ways. Oh well.
It's a good practice though, because sometimes you have to.
Yeah, sometimes. So I want this to come forward and this to rest right at the corner of the head here, this corner, and the fringe to come up onto the previous shapes. Triangle, triangle, triangle. This is what they are. If you have like weird bulky fringe, just pull it off so that it's nice and even and blends well. Okay. So I'm going to redefine the eye, goes right under that eye bump right there. So you get that recognized on both sides so you know where you are. Okay, let's make a nose. I'm going to wrap the nose around the face ace just like we did the eye bumps. And I think I'm going to use the gray. And you have these other, you know what oh no, here it is. Okay. Just for contrast, you could just do it in gray. You could mix some brown and pink together. But I want it to be nice and flat. So I'm going to go about the middle of the tool and I want it to be about 1/2 inch wide. So each dot is 1 inch.
So that's a quartered piece of charcoal.
This is a thin strip of charcoal. You want to go around about 4 times. Yeah, about 1/4. So that's what the charcoal looks like. You can decide, is that the color you want your nose, or do you want to put a little pink in there? Mix a little pink and gray and brown together maybe, just to tone the pink down. Lots of options.
So it seems more like dairy cows have that pink nose and the Belted Galloways are grayer-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, you could skip the pink and just do the brown even.
Oh, there's a little bit in there.
I mean,
if it's all black, you can't see any of the features.
I know.
Really.
We're trying to get a little bit of variety in the features. So I'm just going to get this to stick a bit. Now this is a tricky shape to felt on because it has to go right onto the end of the nose. Right onto this. Oh my gosh. Right onto this gray end of our original cone. I'm going to use a single needle because it's a little bit easier to target. Once there's more shapes on here, this becomes a little easier to handle, but just the edges can wrap around a little bit, but I do want to accentuate the flat front. The chin and the nose are about even. Okay, now we want to make two ghost, they're like half ghost muzzles. Cows have really cool kind of upper lip sticking off the side of their nose. So we're going to do it similarly to how we did the jawbones, but we want, if we pull a 2-inch piece, instead of a 2-inch square, we're going to split this in half. Restack it, and make a 1-inch square. This is, my measurements are, I'm thinking about this sort of center part of the fiber. There's always going to be fringe sticking off. A literal 1-inch square would look a lot smaller, but that's not enough. Okay, and then we're going to draw a little half a ghost coming from the inside out, and then we'll do it from the inside out on this side. And then you just fold these fibers in. So it's kind of like a right angle like we just did, but a little bit more rounded. Zoom in a little as I do this one. What did I do there? There we go. Okay. So this one is going to go on this side, and I don't need quite all this fringe, so pull a little bit of that off. And this is going to come right onto the nose, and the corner of it is making their upper lip, and the back of it is going to blend into everything that's already going on here. Their nose kind of comes out and in, so if you have a little bit of this black fringe to kind of angle in, you can do that. And then again, it's a little bit much on the top in terms of fringe.
Realizing that you didn't film could have certainly must have felt like an utter disaster.
It did.
But you didn't have a cow.
I did not. Well, I had a little.
It was a minor cow.
I had a calf.
And then you decided, I'm going to take this bull by the horns.
Whoa.
And we're going to work till the cows come home.
You've been working on that one.
I really feel like you're going to hit the bullseye with this face.
So funny. Okay. So here's what we have. We have lips. We have chin. We have jaw. We have eye sockets. So let's get some ears so we can see. It's a really fun part of this project. I don't want a dip here. I want a little bit of boldness, like
Gotcha, at the top of the...
Yeah, so look at us. We're making the head even better. I'm taking a little bit of black, just a piece I had randomly, and I'm just going to fold a soft pillow and
they have a lot going on.
Get this bridge of the nose to not dip. We want it to stay prominent.
Between the eyes?
Between the eyes.
Goes, yeah, like out more.
Yeah. So we're making it even better. And then oh yeah, that's better. And then right across the bridge of the nose, it's always good to look at it from the top. You can see where you are. I'm going to mix some charcoal and black, just a tiny bit of each, just to give us a little bit of variation. So I'm breaking these up. And then just need a smidge. I'm going to go right across the bridge of the nose here, down to the pink nose, so that everything is evenly colored and addressed. I'm letting the fringe go off on the sides, so it should just blend in there. And then you want to get a little tight right behind the muzzle, little kind of tighten in on the face shape there. Okay, let's make some ears. So to make the ears, I have a 2-inch piece of whole core. I'm going to split it in half. And then I'm going to split these in half. Kind of restack here. And then I want to make 2 X's with those pieces, mostly overlapping in the center. It's just a subtle X, because with the crisscross fibers, now when I felt this flat, I'll have a real stable ear. Whereas if I just did it like this, it would be prone to pull apart. So by giving it 2 directions, we're giving it more stability. And then with the punch tool, you want to felt this down really well. And these are about, I'd say about 2 inches long right now. Yeah. And when you're felting directly into your felting surface, make sure that you flip regularly. All right, let's pretty good and stuck. So now I want to tone the inside of the ear. I'm going to use pink and gray. I'm going to cut this in half because it's long. And I've got a little bit of charcoal core here. Again, we're just giving some contrast to the features so that we can see, so that our sculpture has more interest. And then just a tuft of that goes in the center of each ear. Now I'm thinking this is the top of the ear and this is where it attaches. I do want to do most of my felting towards the top of the ear because I need it to be able to further felt to attach. That other proverb also fit the situation.
We had a whole conversation about that. The cow must graze where she is tied.
Mm-hmm.
And how, what did you call it, Talbot? Oh, he's got ears on. Just like an observational comedy. Like, of course, you have to graze where you're tied. That's like making lemonade out of lemons, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, you have to
work within your circumstances and make the best.
So I'm going to put these center to center and cut the edges into my ear shape. It's just rounding out and giving a little point to the tips here. So you can see when these get folded over, they're going to be a really cute shape. But what's really fun is they have a lot of fluff on their ears. So we're going to put that on first. So just turn them over, and I'm going to take one of my black mixes. This one has a little brown in it, which is nice. And you want to make sure your fibers doesn't need a lot, just all in a line. And go straight across. It's just hanging off a little bit. Straight across there. And then I'm going to take a little black and charcoal mix. I feel like the black's too strong and the charcoal's too light. So we want to blend these together and put a really thin bit of core. We're not trying to bulk it up. We're just trying to hold this introduction of new fibers down. And then go ahead and stab that.
Picture.
Okay, so once that's stuck, we can take a brush and kind of comb these out so that they're... And then I'm actually going to comb the underside as well, so it's a little more blended because we cut that. And now you can see what's what in your ear. And they do have this nice rolled edge, right? So if this ear is going on this side, they kind of have like this little dip rolled edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and felt that. Start to define it, how the ear is folded over. It's subtle, but And then this fringe, it's really thin. Like it doesn't need to be a ton. This is well felted now. And it's probably a little bit long. So you can trim it just by coming in at an angle. But look at pictures. You'll make your own decisions about, you know, how fuzzy you want your ears to be. And then this goes on the head with a little roll to it. Right onto the back of these shapes that we've put on. Kind of even with the back of the eye in terms of height. Just set down from the top of that bump a little bit. Kyla was saying it makes a W when you look at it straight on.
Once you have the floofy
Yeah.
center.
Yeah. Okay. Starting to look like something. Just like a little piglet at the moment. Let's get some eyes in there. Still don't see my eye dot, like my eye spot there. Okay, so the way I was making the eyes works really well on a really thin tool if you have a toothpick or a tiny pindle. And I'm using a very thin strip of black. It's a thin part of a 2-inch piece. You'll know how much you need when you start wrapping. This is really easy to pull apart. And then I'm shooting for a circle. So I really want to keep the fiber condensed. If I need to, I can ever so slightly crisscross, which puts it right on top of itself. And I'm making a little, just bigger than a BB. And then it works well to take a very small amount of brown and go right around that. Because when we slide this off, we're going to have a black centered eye with a brown edge. Can you see that? I'm going to use a single needle so I can really target what I need to target. If you lose the black dot, it's okay. We can put it back in. Sometimes the wool just kind of shifts around. So then I just take a tiny bit more black, put it right on here, make that pupil as big as I want it. And the little white dot is good.
You're really moving right along.
Go. And if I want to, I can also put a thin black strip around this eye just to get it sort of the right incorporated and the right size. So if it's a little big, you can put a black strip around it to make it small again. Oops. Okay, let's make another one. This is satisfying. Putting this brown around like this, I like it. When I watch other people needle felt on video, I get very worried about their fingers.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
you look like you're about to stab yourself.
I was very close right there. But yeah, I figured it probably looks that way. This is a 38. This is a 40. So the 40 works well for little details like dots and stuff. And the 38 is really gonna get it down and get things locked down the way I need them to be. So I'm adding my black back into the center. It's always good to do a check. I've gotten pretty good at it, but over the years, about a long time ago, my eyes were always way
askew.
Yes. Not the same place on each side. Think Talbot's editing over there?
I don't know.
I took a break and wrote some proverbs.
He
You
wrote
did?
some
Are you going to
proverbs.
share a proverb? Are they cow proverbs?
No, not exclusively cow.
Okay.
You can read it.
All right, y'all. Here's where she is so far.
It's lovely.
Ooh, crazy. We need 2 little nostrils.
Are you doing lashes?
Yes. I'm jumping around a little.
A chain dog sees but does not chase. Well, it learns to. Because if it does, that's a problem. Cranes stride, but songbirds hop.
It seems deep, but it is not.
These are not deep.
This is a good one. This one's a very good one.
Does it have meaning?
Yes.
They all have meaning.
All right, well, you can explain the crane songbird one to me.
A dung beetle knows not of its reputation. That's a really good one.
That's a good one.
That poor dung beetle just thinks it's doing its thing.
I like that one.
Rocking it out.
So I'm just pulling two little tufts of black. They come down from the top corner towards the center in a teardrop shape. I feel like I'm talking less the second time around. So hopefully I'm remembering to instruct here.
Talbot could have a whole gig with his proverbs.
That jaw was sort of sticking off in space, so making sure it's locked down here. Okay, eyelashes go like a bit of our black floof. Cut it in half. I mean, you could use straight up alpaca, but I think I mixed it all. But it's all right. It's gonna... And then you just need a little 1/4 inch of that. And you put the center right over the top of the eyeball. And you're going to do a teeny tiny fur technique and felt some black core into that center right over the eyeball. And I'm doing it by feel, because until you get that felted down, then you can push this up. Give her some eyelashes. You can see how much they're sticking off there. Like that. And then I usually cut them at an angle a little shorter as they go in. All right, on this side. Same thing. Ooh, she's starting to look very cute. All right, she definitely needs her head floof now, and then we can keep shaping and sculpting, etc. Okay. It's always good to check from the side. Make sure she's looking very clanky. The way you want her to. I like her. I don't know. She might be a little better than the first one.
She looks fabulous.
So the head floof is fun. We're just going to go, let's rest her head on this pillow. And this is going to help us lock down the ears as well. And this has a little bit of the brown in it, which I like. It kind of does something a little different than just black. So I'm just going to tease it out like we did the body. Stick that right on top of her head. Stab it in. So now I'm anchoring those ears in even further. I'm keeping it very, very random.
You're going for bedhead.
Going for bedhead. And then we can work on the front. From the front as well. Stand up for me. There we go. She's like, make me pretty. Let's put a little more brown on the front. Why not?
I noticed on that one you did brown also on the, like right above the tail.
Oh, yeah, I did.
One.
I put more brown on the back. Okay, so I'm putting a little more brown of the Shetland chocolate into this. Oh, she's going to look like she's got frosted. Maybe it's a little too much. Let's tone it back a little bit. A little bit, half that. But they do, you know, it's sunburn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some variations.
So I'm thinking just down onto the bridge of the nose a little bit and up to meet the fluff that we put on from the back of the head. And as I said earlier in the video, you are going to stab a bit more than I do. And then it gets into, you know, sculpting and making sure everything looks like your reference image. I just got her eyelashes kind of caught up in that. Now, another thing we can try is a reverse needle. I have two here to fuzz and blend.
Nice face and legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she looks cute. Very cute.
She's fabulous.
Let's get her standing up straight here. Oh my gosh. I have to go around and my workspace is messy, so I feel like I have to go around and clean her of all this
Loose fiber.
Yeah. That's probably better. Just getting her neck lower there. So on the neck, I think I mentioned I put a piece of charcoal core about like this, just over the neck and let the fringe hang down. And then I put the black fluff on it. So the reverse needle technique, that can go kind of back and forth a little bit. You could pull some out, stab it back in, pull some out. I think I'm going to put, because I have some seams right here, I'm going to put a little bit of fluff behind the eye. Just further felt that ear in, hide some seams. Blend the jawbone in. Let's do that on each side. Yeah, I think we're looking good. I think there could be a little more kind of sculpting around the muzzle a little bit.
It gets a little more petite at the muzzle.
Yeah, just getting it tighter right behind the muzzle. Little kind of corner of the mouth action, but it's all so it's all so black that it's hard to. One of the things I did, and the other one was I put some gray, a bit of a gray lip here, which helps. Just roll a little bit of gray. Put it right where her nose meets her bottom lip. It's funny, we're usually putting black there.
Nice. So you do 2 coats of impasto on the toes?
Yeah, we're going to do that again.
And maybe even reverse needle the legs a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't do that on any of mine, but it is definitely an option. It's kind of counting on the thickness of the core wool to look
Just look like
yeah,
that.
just look fuzzy. I think I'll groom her ears a little bit because I want them to be to scale, and right now they're looking a little crazy. So I'll keep fussing with those and sculpting those. But let's see, let me back up a little bit. Yeah, I think she looks good. So on the toes, we don't need to really accentuate the cloven hoof more than they are right now. On my other ones, what I did was I wrapped them almost to where it was like all wrapped. And then I put power wax on. And when it was dry, I cut them open. And then I re-power waxed it to kind of define the toes. So that's one approach. But these toes just stayed fairly separate. So what I'm going to do is clean them up. Now, we talked about the impasto turning white. And so when there's a lot of fiber fluff and texture, the impasto is going to become more opaque. So we're going to give her a little groom off some of this pokey fiber stuff if she has it.
And the other option is swax if someone wanted to heat up some swax.
Yeah, but once these get pretty coated, like you can almost like kind of sculpt with the medium. So we're going to put a second coat on here. It's good to press it in and then try to get rid of extra.
So if there's too much left on it to dry, that also might...
Yeah, smooth it out. We could take a look at those when they're dry. Okay. All right, I'm posing my cow in the overhead. Just the way, watch this. You're not even going to know that I switched them. It's pretty good. Maybe the head's a little big. Can keep stabbing and refining on that. And then I think the legs could even go a little chunkier. Like they really have a fat, chunky leg.
That whole hangy downy chest thing too.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty good. Could be more exaggerated, I guess. Exaggeration is good, I think. So You want to give them a little cowhockedness, which means that their little hocks point in. That makes them cute. Yeah, I'll stab on it. I'll stab on it a little bit more. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed the process, and maybe you're moving up from a level 2 or have done another level 3, and this one's just pushing you a little bit more, but I can't wait to see what you make. You can share it on our Facebook group, which is called Serafina Felting Fanfare, and we have, I think, about 25,000 members now. So if you have a question or looking for inspiration, just want to feel the love, you can post there, and it's a really nice community. So yeah, we can't wait to see what you make, and I hope you had fun doing it.